Let's get into the big topic of open source, something that we actually say at Red Hat.
This is so awesome.
We are an open culture that believes in the importance of
What is that process that a developer, or let's say,
as the Kubernetes ecosystem really boomed.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Clouds. I am your host, Stu Miniman. It is September 2024. Thanks for joining us. We did take the month of August off. We had a couple of episodes the month before that. The leaves are starting to change here in New England. And for many, the fall conference season is in full swing. I'm a little bit happy. I'm spending a little bit less time in airports and at hotels. And one of the things, though, that is always excited for industry is the KubeCon and Cloud Native Con conference, which will be happening second week of November in Salt Lake City, Utah. So the show always travels around quite a bit. And while I am not planning to be there personally myself this time, I always do love to be able to do a preview of it. So special preview this time. Not only will we be digging into KubeCon and Cloud Native Con, but we're also going to do a little bit of a deep dive and talk about what's happening on with OpenShift Commons, which happens at the event. So happy to welcome to the program Aubrey Muhlach. Aubrey is a senior manager with us at Red Hat on the OpenShift team. I've worked with Aubrey for years. She and I work together on a lot of the KubeCon activity, and she is leading up a team that is working on OpenShift Commons. So Aubrey, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're pretty excited because you will be heading to Salt Lake City. Do you have a countdown in your office yet as to how many days?
Not quite yet.
Hours?
I probably should add it to the calendar though, because we're probably 40 days out. We're getting close. So yes, I'm excited to be there. It's been a couple years since I went as well. So happy to get back on the KubeCon train.
Yeah, Aubrey, if you could give our audience a little bit, your background, your time here at Red Hat, what you do, and what your role is going to be at KubeCon and OpenShift Commons.
Yep, absolutely. So again, I'm Aubrey Muhlach. I'm one of the product marketing managers for the Red Hat OpenShift team. I'm based in Colorado, so I have a quick hop over the mountain to get to Salt Lake City this year, which will be nice. But our team is mostly focused on the messaging around OpenShift and how we bring it to you, the OpenShift users, when you're going out and making sure that we have the right resources and tools available to you. I am also heavily focused on our event strategy, one of which is KubeCon, the other is now OpenShift Commons. So these are two events that are huge ones for us as the OpenShift team. KubeCon is obviously the industry event where we like to make sure that we're coming and learning alongside many of you, what trends are exciting you, where you're getting stuck, where you want to engage with us as Red Hat more. And it helps us to, again, measure and make sure we're pulling in the right features to make a solid product for our end users. OpenShift Commons is a really special subset of that because that is a group of just Red Hat OpenShift users who come together and collaborate. We will have probably 6 to 7 different users come up on that stage and tell us how they're using OpenShift, again, where their successes are, where they're hitting some bumps in the road, need some help from us. So they're both really special events to us. And this is the first year that I'll be heavily involved in the OpenShift Commons aspect. So I'm excited to make sure we incorporate more of the back and forth and engage with the community at that event this year.
All right. Yeah, so Aubrey, we'll talk a little bit more about Commons, but let's start with KubeCon itself. So, I always say this show itself really has gotten to the size and the scope of it is very much you need to have a choose your own adventure. There are not only hundreds of open source projects at OpenShift, at the KubeCon Cloud Native Con show itself. But even if you look in the AI space, there's now dozens of different projects that are there. When I went to the show in Paris, the day one keynote was all AI. We all know 2024 has been, very much a, AI finding out that space, and open source has a lot going on there. Day two got into more kind of the traditional cloud native ecosystem that we've been talking about. what's your expectations? Some of the themes you're looking at the show. As I said in the lean up, you and I often do a lot of the planning for what our presence is going to do at the show. So, what are your expectations, and what are some of the things you're looking to see, and what do you see in the schedule?
Yeah. I definitely, to your point, think AI is going to continue to dominate the conversation, especially on the main stage. There's so much to learn, and I think that's part of what our team has been working through and over the course of the last years. Everybody's interested, but they need help finding the starting point with AI. They know that they need to incorporate it. They know that they want to use it. They know that it could make their life easier. But a lot of users are kind of stuck on where do we start. So I think that some of the sessions that are coming through are here's how we adopted AI in a specific scenario. And we'll get the opportunity to collaborate, go back and forth on where we started, what questions we asked, and how we actually jumped into using the technology. I expect that'll be, again, a major dominating storyline. The other one that's come up a lot for us is virtualization. So we do know that there are things changing in that industry rapidly right now, and there are a lot of customers trying to figure out how to use virtualization going forward. Is it a right strategy or technology for them? So I expect there'll be a lot of talks on migrating to Kubernetes as another opportunity for some of the workloads, how to manage existing ones and make sure that you're appropriately using them, leveraging them, and not maybe too reliant on that technology going forward. That's another one. I also think security is an ongoing topic. I mean, that's not one that we've been able to avoid for the last several years. I don't see that changing anytime soon. In addition to that, like you said, with CNCF, I think one of the most exciting parts to us is it's not just about Kubernetes, it's about the hundreds of projects that layer on top of it. So I expect we will continue to see a number of talks on GitOps, on CI/CD, on how you're incorporating them into your own stack, how you're using existing open source tools to make it as easy and comfortable and reliable as possible. So I'm looking forward to some of those as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, Aubrey. Some of the shows I go to when I go to the KubeCon, the day zero shows can almost be a full event on itself. As a matter of fact,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
some people just go for the day zero event. The recommendation is like, hey, if you're making your way to Salt Lake City, take advantage of the full week. Yes, you can have the focus on what you have there, but take advantage of the rest of it. We're going to talk about OpenShift Commons, but before we do, I know you've been involved in a number of the other co-located events. You mentioned security. Security went from a day zero event and pulled out to its own separate event, and has had mixed results. We actually, we've been a major sponsor of that. Some of my team has participated in the show. We actually saw the attendance go down this year, which was a little bit surprising, because everybody needs to worry about security, and doesn't make sense to send your security to a separate event, or do you just do it as part of the main event? So anything you want to call out when it comes to the day zero events, beyond Commons itself?
Yeah. So day zero, Red Hat will be involved in ArgoCon, so all things GitOps. We will have a presence there as well as one of the key sponsors for that event. We'll be at Backstage Con talking about Red Hat Developer Hub. That's another product that I think will be really fun to integrate as we go into future KubeCons. That's something that for Red Hat became generally available as Red Hat Developer Hub back in December. And we've had a nice early run of successes with that product. So I think you'll get to hear some of that throughout Commons as well as throughout KubeCon. But Backstage has always been a really interesting event. The developers who show up to that one are very collaborative, communicative, and willing to go in asking questions and putting hard opportunities, hard problems in front of that group. So that'll be another one. Kubeflow is one that I think Red Hat always has our eye on, especially as AI continues to evolve. But I think ArgoCon and Backstage Con are the two that we're putting more emphasis on this year than we have in past years.
Yeah, it's funny. I believe it was 2 years ago at the Detroit show, I sat on a panel for press and analysts talking about platform engineering. And of course, the Backstage project is really the core of what most people are talking about when they talk about platform engineering. So it's a hot space, really interesting. I know almost every customer I talk to is looking at that and saying, how can I take the next generation of the whole DevOps movement that we've been looking at as an industry?
Yep.
So, all right, we get beyond, the other day zero stuff. Commons itself has been, an integral part of KubeCon for a long time. It is one of those day zero events there. Tell us a little bit about what's new with Commons this year, and give our audience just a little bit of a refresher as to, what they can expect if they come join this event.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So OpenShift Commons is a gathering of OpenShift users. We pull you all together so that you can share what's working, what's not, so that you can get feedback from us on where we think we need to improve, on what features we want to enhance, and where we want to take the overall roadmap and projection of OpenShift itself. It's also where we want to hear from you. So we do ask for that feedback live from all of the users who are attending these events. These events are typically a couple hundred OpenShift users. They're not massive, but it gives us the opportunity then to have that back and forth. But some of the things that we're really focusing in on for Salt Lake City are making sure that we're building into that main stage the ability to get your feedback live and to poll the audience and to make sure that we are pulling through as much information from the users as you guys may want to pull from some of the OpenShift and the Red Hat experts. So what you can expect to see that's a little bit different is there'll be some activities following each session to help engage and communicate with the audience to make sure we're getting live feedback and real-time feedback from you on the topics at hand. Know that we'll have a similar structure and schedule in terms of themes to what we just talked about with KubeCon. So AI will be a huge point of reference for us throughout the event. I think we'll be bringing some fun updates to you in that regard as well. Virtualization, again, is a piece that's taken a lot of time from our team as people are figuring out what they need next. So we'll be bringing some of our partners, some of our users, some of our Red Hat experts to the stage to talk about what they've seen, what questions people have, and how they respond to them, as well as overcome any challenges in play. So that'll definitely be a big piece. The Developer Hub and how we're integrating with the developer teams to make sure that OpenShift is easier to consume and manage from a full DevOps team perspective, if you want to look at it that way. That's also something that we think will be heavily involved in there too. So those are some of the things we'll be doing in terms of themes. We, again, want to make sure that throughout the event, we'll be getting feedback. Another fun activity that we are changing a little bit is in the past for OpenShift Commons, we've done awards for users and participants in this OpenShift Commons community. We're going to bring that back again this year, and we will have voting on it. So do keep your eyes on the Commons website. It's commons.openshift.org, where we will ask users, OpenShift users, to nominate their peers for awards like who's bringing the most innovation to the community, who's asking the hardest questions, who is engaging and making sure that they're participating on an ongoing basis. So that's also something that we will wrap up the show with at the end of the Salt Lake City event. And that will be all user focused. Again, we want to make sure that we're highlighting the right customers who are bringing these innovative, different, challenging ideas forward to make sure that they're making users and Red Hat both better.
Yeah, so want to make sure the audience listening to this understand from a logistical standpoint, there is the CNCF conference, and there's two different passes that you can get for KubeCon. There's the all access pass, which includes the day zero ones that are in the same building. And then there's the KubeCon only ones. For OpenShift Commons, my understanding, Aubrey, is you actually don't need either of those tickets necessarily to be able to get in. So if you're local to the event, or you happen to be coming to the area but don't have the ticket, or if you've only bought the KubeCon ticket, all of you are eligible to be able to register and come to the event itself, because it's not held at the same facility. I believe it's at the Meridian. How far is that from kind of the main?
Right next door. Yeah, you should just have to turn the corner and you're there. So yes.
Yeah, so I'm not too familiar with Salt Lake City. I know I've worked with the team when we did Detroit. It was like, it's a 15-minute walk. It's not bad. Chicago's a little bit of a nightmare to deal with, well, which loop are you in and how does that happen? I like the European ones. It was like, yeah, Amsterdam. It was a little walk, but you go through a little garden and it was nice. Paris was okay, but yeah, so good. Right next door, makes things super easy. And, a reminder when it comes to the content, yes, it is sponsored by Red Hat and OpenShift is there, but a lot of the people are talking about the open source projects that they work on. So, you mentioned things like, I know in the past I've seen people, talk about Argo. They've talked about, pipelines. They've talked about, different projects that they're working on because, front and center, what do we do at Red Hat? We help work on, these open source, and we want to encourage the community to grow. And we've had lots of end users that have ended up participating in open source communities with the help of Red Hat behind them.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, that's the part that makes it a complete app platform that we're excited about here. So bringing all of those hundreds of projects in and showing how people are using them within our ecosystem is definitely a key highlight that'll be featured at the event.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, Aubrey, what are you excited about? I know you probably can't share with who the customers are that have agreed to speak yet. I was checking out the schedule online yet, and you've only got our MC for the event listed so far, who's our peer and friend Simon Seagrave. But yeah, you said you've got a handful of customers presenting. Any kind of industries you can share as to what we get? I know we usually have a broad spectrum that participate in this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the agenda should be published, I hope, in the next 2 weeks. So we'll be able to share a little bit more with you then. I think we'll have a few from the financial sector, which is always good. Those guys are leading in terms of their technology, but they also have a lot of processes that they need to make sure they're following through on. So that's always a good one that feels more thoroughly thought out and validated when we bring it forward, that I think our users really appreciate. I think we'll have a couple on security. I know, again, we'll have a couple on virtualization. But in terms of industry, there are bigger enterprise customers, a few from the financial sector, and maybe a couple others that we can surprise you with in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Good stuff. And the community awards sound great. I know the CNCF does things like that. OpenShift Commons absolutely has done in the past. So yeah, great opportunity. I mean, it's one of the big focuses we always have at Red Hat is, we are participating in the community and we work to grow that ecosystem. If you take, the solution like Red Hat Developer Hub, one of the big things we're doing is making sure that all of the other projects and ISVs can plug into the Backstage project itself. So, we've got, many ecosystem partners that have participated. Usually, you mentioned some of the customers from a partner standpoint. I have to expect we've got, some ISVs, some hardware partners that'll be participating in KubeCon also.
Yes. So we've got some partners that'll be in the Red Hat booth where you can come talk with them to learn more. Some of our virtualization customers, especially around the partners, around backup and recovery, will be featured pretty heavily. I think both at the KubeCon booth, you'll see them in a panel as well throughout Commons, since that's a hot topic. Security partners, there's a huge array. Database partners, that schedule is still yet being built out. But definitely come to the booth. There'll be a wide array of people with different varying areas of expertise to talk to. Also, I want to make sure our sticker wall is going to be there, because that's also super important. Come and get all of your Red Hat, all of your community stickers. If you haven't experienced the sticker wall in the past, it's been a hot topic, a hot button for people to come and make sure they grab all their swag. So
yeah,
plenty of reasons.
So Aubrey, I know oftentimes you'll have opportunities as part of Commons that you'll have some rooms where you're either doing hands-on lab or deeper dive on a topic. Anything on those you can share?
Yeah, so we will have 2 breakout rooms at Commons this year. They're going to be filled with a variety of different sessions. So there will be a roundtable, for example, on security that'll be happening led by Andrew Block. We'll have one on GitOps. We'll have, again, one on virtualization and talk about some of the practices people have in play there. There's probably 10-ish incremental breakout sessions that people can go and participate in. The intent of that is those are rooms that probably will hold about 50 people max. And you will have experts from Red Hat and from the community who you can go in and have more candid back and forth conversations with throughout the course of the day. That schedule will also be posted very shortly. I'm hoping that one's actually up next week. So do take a look at that and figure out what makes sense to you, what you need more support on. And again, there's an email in there as well. Give us feedback on what other topics might be missing, because we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, so we got real time. We got a great question from the audience here. How can Watson X be lived with OpenShift? So from a product standpoint, first of all, OpenShift and OpenShift AI are the underpinnings for the Watson X solution. What's really interesting is right after the KubeCon Paris show, we unveiled between IBM Research and Red Hat the Instruct Lab tooling, which helps for fine tuning, and the Granite models itself. So that really is a partnership, as I said, between the IBM research team and the OpenShift team. So Aubrey, anything you could share? Are we going to have some of the new AI components? I'm assuming definitely in the booth. And how about Commons? And will our friends at IBM be participating in some of that?
Yeah, so I know the IBM team will be participating in terms of attending at least both Commons and KubeCon. So we will have some other resources if you have pointed questions you want to go and ask. At KubeCon itself, we will have a segment of the booth that's dedicated to AI. So I know, like you said, our OpenShift AI team will make sure to be there, as well as others who are supporting AI with OpenShift as the platform to help power it like it does for watsonx. So that's another area. I can't say too much about what they'll be featuring there quite yet. I believe there'll also be a session at Commons where we might have a couple more things to reveal as well. So more to come, but we definitely will have the experts there to help follow up and continue the conversation with that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's been really popular, and I'm sure we'll have some people there, that if you want to get your hands on InstructLab, it's something that can be done on a laptop, and that's something that can be spun up pretty easily. So yeah, peer organization of ours, and absolutely some interesting stuff there. So thank you for the question on there, and definitely look for those pieces. Definitely a very interesting conversation to be had there. All right. Aubrey, call to action. I think, we say if people want to participate, they should be we'll put up the link for the actual event itself where they can register. Any other kind of calls from your standpoint when it comes to Commons?
Yeah, no, please come register for the event. The event is starting to fill, which is great. The other thing is we have a Slack channel that's open for anybody who wants to engage with OpenShift experts. So that is also linked out through the Commons website. Again, it's commons.openshift.org. So please do feel free to engage with us in that format. Finally, coming out of the event, we want your feedback. So we will be going straight into planning for KubeCon in London following this event. So do keep your eyes and ears open. Let us know what you think. Please come find me. I'd love to meet you at the event, whether it's KubeCon or Commons, and make sure that we're incorporating your needs into these events going forward.
All right. Well, Aubrey, we've gotten to the point of the discussion that we are going to do our rapid fire segment. So, Rohan, let's go to questions from a Red Hat. All right. So, Aubrey, rapid fire. We haven't previewed these with you. First of all, where does AI fit into your world and your life today?
Oh, gosh. I am trying to use AI to simplify my life. So personally, we're trying to landscape in the front. We haven't been able to figure out what we want. So I've been using AI to generate new images of my yard for me. So that's been a fun one. Professionally, I have been trying to leverage the tools to figure out how I can take existing assets, whether it's a stream like this, and put it into other formats for people to more easily consume.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do video anymore. This is all AI generated. But
there you go. Made it a lot easier to get here today. That's for sure.
But yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, I mean, just in that space, it just changes on a daily basis here. All right. Second question I have for you is, what are you most excited about going to KubeCon Salt Lake City, Commons itself?
So I haven't been to KubeCon in about 2 years. So I think I'm most excited about networking. It's always good to see the different people who are coming through these shows, understanding and collaborating and picking their brains with their questions. I am more so of the marketing mind, so I have a different way of thinking of things than I think some people who show up to these shows. So what I like to do is pick at their problem and make it as simple as I can to understand, and then figure out how to repeat it back to an audience in a way that maybe is more consumable going forward. So networking, learning, those are definitely two of the big pieces for me.
All right. So to follow up on that, last question I have for you out of the Red Hat is, what's your favorite CNCF project that you're looking forward to learning about, to talk more about? And what I have to say is, Aubrey, I know you. It can't be Argo.
Oh, come on.
I know Argo's your favorite. So is there a new thing you want to learn about, or something in this space that you're excited about? Because otherwise, come on, I knew what the answer was going to be.
Yeah, you did know what that answer was. All right. If it can't be Argo, I believe there are some upcoming changes coming for CI/CD and projects within CNCF. So that's one that I will have my ear to the ground on to see what's changing, what the tone and attitude is from the audience. And then KubeVirt is probably one that'll have a special place in my heart for a while. That's where I started when I came to Red Hat. It's obviously a very hot topic for us now. So again, seeing what the full KubeCon community's attitude of that versus what we have experienced at Red Hat, that's another place I'm looking forward to.
All right. Yeah. I tell you from afar, it's in the AI space. Of course, Kubeflow's been getting a lot of attention. Kserve, definitely a lot happening in that space. because the whole discussion of where does open source fit with AI has been a really broad conversation. Linux Foundation is definitely close to that. We've got lots of people on the special interest groups and, very active in the community that are helping to drive that. And, Aubrey, the thing I want to hear back from you, I hope, is that since we went to Paris, we as Red Hat really put our stake in the ground with the Granite model, with Instruct Lab. So want to hear that feedback as to what we're seeing. Everybody at KubeCon is like, wow, we know how important AI is. So how much of that underpinning is really important? We actually have we had a Gartner Magic Quadrant that you and I were involved in for container management, and Red Hat has the reprint of it. I'll see if I can grab the link before we close out on this. But one of the things in there is Gartner actually talks about how important containers are for the underpinning of that AI. So the question all the time is like, oh, hey, the new stuff comes. How much of what I've been doing is important? And we know at Red Hat, especially in the OpenShift group, look, we are the underpinning of this. Containers and Kubernetes, extremely important. Building on that with all the open source projects for data scientists and the like. So really, really, cool stuff there. So I'm disappointed I won't be there. I'm excited to hear your feedback, Aubrey. I'll plan, I'm planning to be at the London show when we get there next year. The CNCF keeps chugging with all the events. It's a little bit crazy that here we are in September and already we're deep in 2025 planning. So let me give you the final word as to, how people should come out, engage, and talk to us in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, just please come to the booth. Ask questions, big or small. There are people who are higher level and can give you an overview of where we fit into the community. I think one of the things you just brought up, Stu, with you're not going to be successful if you're just doing containers. The reports that are coming out now are not just measuring based on people's container management capabilities, but how you integrate all the other tools, how you integrate AI, how you look towards upcoming and future technologies. So come ask us your high-level questions. Come get in the weeds with us at the booth or at Commons itself. We will have an amazing group and team of hatters there to help support you from E to Z. So please come by, engage with us, ask us your easy questions, ask us your hard questions, and we're looking forward to meeting you.
Awesome. So I think I've got the link. I'll be up in a second for the container management piece. As Aubrey said, we are always looking for your feedback. So whether you're there in person, can track her down and give feedback, reach out to us online if you have feedback. For this show, always looking for more guests, more topics, more themes here. There is that link right there if you want to grab red.ht/container management MQ. You can see that reprint and see how important containers are for the future of AI. We'll be back. Definitely got one show planned in October already, and we'll have more throughout the rest of the year. So thank you, Aubrey, so much for joining. You and the team have a phenomenal event. I'll definitely be watching and having a little bit of FOMO from afar. And thank you, Rohan, as always, for the production here. We will be back with more, in the coming months. And thank you, as always, for joining us on your journey in the clouds.